Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. Hope uh, as everybody joins in, moving along, I hope that everybody is doing okay. Whether you're watching this on the initial live stream or you're watching it on a playback on a shared platform or whatever, I hope that I hope the best for you. I hope things are going well for you. I want to wish each and every one of you the best in this new year. No matter what you're going through, no matter what challenges you may be facing, uh, there is an opportunity and a possibility to overcome it. It's your responsibility to be committed enough to change, to elevation, to improvement, to healing, that you realize that opportunity. So I want to wish you the best. Second of all, I want to thank those of you who have reached out to me in multitudinous ways to check on me as far as my health is concerned. I shared a video yesterday just chronicling a bit of what I've been facing since late October, early November, and yet my commitment to be steadfast in my work and my passion. I want to thank you who checked in on me, those who gave some sound advice, those who lifted me spiritually in whatever way that is for you. I want to say thank you. This is a journey. I've had my ups and downs over the course of my life, but I've prevailed. I understand the importance of taking care of myself, and I have some work to do as far as physically. And if I am honest, I need to also take care of myself emotionally. When you put as much work as you put into caring about other people, many of whom are not in a position to care about themselves, it taxes you. There's a weight on you if you've never done that. Imagine you wake up in the morning rejuvenated and committed to doing something in the world. You know, you have clients that you work with that are expecting you to deliver on a number of different areas that will improve their lives, some personal, some companies that are expecting you to do that. But then you have a large group of people that you're going to work with that are not clients, but are part of a group that you identify with, that you care about deeply, and that you want to see do better and succeed. And when you take it on, you're taking on what they're dealing with. You don't work with somebody in a true nature and state of empathy and not bear a piece of what they're going through. You can't have empathy and not feel somebody's pain. You can't have empathy and not feel someone's frustration. Good morning, Roar. You cannot have empathy and not feel a sense of hopelessness and helplessness as these people are dealing with things that they believe are far more powerful and forceful than they are to overcome it. And you know in your mind that nothing's impossible, but you know getting someone else to that point is not an easy task. So you wake up in the morning rejuvenated and invigorated and ready to go, and you go to bed having to release and lay down. Most of the times you're good at it. You do it. I'm talking about myself. You do it, and you go to bed with a light heart, prepared to get up in the morning, pick it all up, and go back to work again. Sometimes you can't shake it as easy as you want to, and you end up taking it to bed with you and to sleep with you. But it's a process, and the thing is, I've never backed off. I've never been a quitter. I've never been someone that when it got difficult laid it down. I committed to this, and I will die committed to it. I only know one way to live, but I do know that I'm going to probably have to pace myself. um, you know it's it's so many challenges into that, and I just want to really thank the people who took the time out to leave a kind word on the video. Some of you emailed me. Some of you who have worked with me or know me, you actually sent me a text message, and so I definitely appreciate that. You know, I try to tell people this often. being strong does not mean being invincible. And I think that we are somewhat neglectful in how we handle our people who are on the front line for us. And I'm not just talking about pow, 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 black power or what people are doing. I'm talking about some of the people that know you personally that are pouring into you, and you look at them and you see in your mindset that they are in your perspective, or they have their life together. They got it together. They're the ones that always win. They are the ones that seem to always know the answer. And so you tend to get this idea they'll be all right. And and I know what they feel like, because people are looking at me and say, oh, he'll figure it out. You know, he wants to do it, he'll figure it out. And they don't take into consideration what the toll that takes on you. You're not just looking out for yourself. You're looking out for your wife, your family, your kids, your extended family, siblings, cousins, and all that. Then you're looking out for the community. And it's only so much of you have, but you're trying to be strong. So the other side of it is you're not sharing what you're going through with anyone, because they're going to see it in a way that's probably not going to be the way you want them to see it. You don't want to be seen as a complainer. You don't want to be seen as a whiner. You've got something that you've got to get done, and you know that the only way you're going to get it done is to push through it. Well, I'm just sharing with you that people who are strong need people too. And so I'm going to leave that there. What I want to talk to you about, something that's completely blowing my mind, and it falls in line with something that I'm extremely passionate about. And as we talk about it, you'll definitely understand what I mean. Those who for some time definitely know what I'm talking about. And if you keep hearing the little alerts, that's actually because I made the mistake of sharing it on Facebook. And so these alerts are popping up, and I can't kill the sound because I don't want to interfere with what we're talking about. And people are going in on it on Facebook. So anyway, I saw someone post a picture of a black woman in, looks like princess attire, and she had a little boy in a dress, and at the bottom it says boys can be princesses too. And so I'm sitting up and I'm going, okay, this is a joke, a hoax. Somebody made it up, and then somebody didn't do their due diligence and check it out and posted it. This can't be real. So I start my research, and it doesn't take me long to find out. Not only is it real, it's a movement. It's literally just another element or component in which young boys are being targeted, and predominantly black males are being targeted for the sake of feminization and emasculation. So we don't want to just feminize them, we want to emasculate them and feminize and emasculate the image of the male as well. What we want is a docile presentation of a male image. The docile and feminine presentation doesn't provide a sense of safety, a sense of security, a sense of protection, and a sense of leadership. It's difficult to get behind that image. It's difficult to trust that. Oh, we'll be friends. We'll be friends. We can hang out. We'll do all that. But when it comes down, can I trust you to defend me? Can I trust you to stand guard over me? Are you a protector of our elderly, of our women, of our children? That image doesn't come up when you're looking for that. There has to be an image. And as I stated in my written post on Facebook, this has absolutely nothing to do with heterosexuality or homosexuality. This is not my discussion today. My discussion is solely based off of the purposeful feminization and emasculation of the black male images. Uh, and if you don't think it's an agenda, you really need to check it out. The person who created this is a former photographer, or maybe a current photographer, who happened to play a role as a princess or whatever, and decided that she noticed that while she was telling everybody in her speeches that anybody could be a princess, she was realizing that actually not everybody could be, because that was a stigma against little boys who wanted to be princesses. Well, see, the reason is that little boys are to be a prince, not a princess. So that's what the little boy has. The little boy doesn't need to aspire to be a princess. The little boy has the right to be a prince and should be seen as royalty and as a prince. And while when you go to this site, you see that there are, some white kids on there. The first thing I notice is all but one of the white kids can't be distinct. If you looked at them without the dress on, you couldn't necessarily tell that they were male. Long hair, just, they could easily pass for a girl. So it wouldn't necessarily come across with that conflicting idea that happens when you see a man in a dress. But when you see the little black boys, and it's more black boys on the site than it is whites on the site than whites, uh, it's obvious that they're boys, and that bothers me. Oh man, everything. Are you kidding me? Okay, that's Marion, y'all. So I'm gonna have to find out what she wants. She's probably just telling me she's made it to the office. But if she calls back, I'll have to take it because normally she doesn't double back because she knows if she calls and I don't answer, I'm probably doing what I'm doing now, or I'm with a client. But here's the thing. We've got to stop being politically correct for the sake of getting along, for the sake of being liked, for the sake of being accepted, especially black men. And black women, I'll talk to you briefly about your role, but especially black men, we've got to stand up and boldly say unacceptable when we see unacceptable. We have gotten too enamored with the idea of being accepted and fitting in, of meeting a standard that allows us to be a part of something. Being a part of something doesn't represent our strength. Being a part of something doesn't represent our quest. Being a part of something is what weakened us. What we've got to understand is there are just some things we cannot accept. And for the mention of the white kids on the site, you got to understand when we come to sheer numbers, they have the white boys to sacrifice in order to get the black boys. They outnumber us significantly. So they can sacrifice those kids in order to get our kids. We don't have young black males to sacrifice. And we need black males who can stand up and be men to defend, to protect, to build, and to lead. And it's important that we do that. And that's what I do in the Black Men Lead Rite of Passage initiative, is that we train and socialize young black males into what it means to be a black man. So it's not simply the normal process of socialization that every male goes through. It's a racial socialization because there's a unique existence in being a black man. The experience of a black man is so unique and distinct from any other man that it has to be observed in a different light. And what we do is we teach them what it means to be a light, what they're going to face in this world, but we also show them that they are equipped to face it. We show them what responsibilities are. We teach them that their number one responsibility is to love black women, to protect black women, to cover black children, and to at all costs provide safe spaces for the elders, the elderly. And no harm is to come to elderly, women, or children in the black community. And it's the black man's responsibility to see it. We've got to get out of our current state where nobody's protecting those that are valuable to us. Our elderly represent our wisdom and the knowledge, the sanctity of the culture. Our women represent the life of the race, and our children represent our future. And we are not providing the right type of security and safety and love in that mechanism. And we teach that. That's the first principle. We teach the principles and need for ownership of business, the principles and need of building and unity. We teach this, and we give them a scope of understanding. And from 4 to 13, that's what it is. Then from 13, it's about growing into it. It's about now being literally gradually moved into the role of manhood with the support of mentors. And that's important because what you're seeing is that if we don't catch them at an early age and start to inculcate the idea of true, authentic Black manhood into their psyches, there is an entire system that is agendized and focused on emasculating and feminizing them, because an emasculated and feminized man can't stand up to the forces that are moving against his people. That Black man, when he becomes feminized, and then disrespected. See, the thing is, everybody will be friends with a man. And see, again, this isn't about homosexuality, because I know a bunch of gay men who, in every other way, are men. And this isn't me. Wow, everybody's calling. This isn't me, you know, supporting homosexuality. You know where I stand on this. This is me saying this isn't what this is about. This is about the image of manhood. This is about, let me tell you something. I don't care how politically correct you decide you're going to be, that you're going to say, man, it's not my job to tell somebody else what they should do and what they shouldn't do. That if you're going to somehow skate around the idea that it's too early in life to be pushing that on a child while they're still in their developmental and impressionable years because of how it's going to shape their view of the world, that they should be given an opportunity to find themselves, and then we determine how we're going to love them. Because I don't not love anybody. Matter of fact, I have multiple people in my family and my wife's family who are gay. I have had a roommate who was gay. I have, people who come to me and I counsel, too many to mention, who are gay. And I love every last one of them. Most of our conversations are not about their lifestyle. They know how I feel about it. That doesn't mean I don't love them. So there's no homophobia here. I love my people no matter where they're at in their journey, but I'm going to speak truth. I'm going to talk about, when you do this, what it means for the collective. See, we have become so selfish that everybody wants to do what everybody wants to do, but they want the collective yearning and power of what they think being Black as a collective brings. But they don't understand, when you decide you're going to be a part of a group, there's a social responsibility that says I can't solely be about me. I have to consider what my actions are going to do in the light of the scope of what we're all trying to accomplish. When you have a situation where Black men are being targeted for feminization and masculization, and yes, let's say homosexualization, then you have to understand what the outcome is going to be if that happens. You have to know what's going to be the result of a certain type of behavior as it scales out and goes on. You have to talk about the implications. And nobody wants to do that because everybody is being taught to live and let live. The problem is, in a social matrix, does not work. You got other groups. Come on. You got other groups that will talk it, but they're not in code on it. I'll give you a prime example. White feminism. White feminism is always talking about how women are discriminated against, how women are handled in the workplace, how women are doing whatever. And they'll use that feminism to go snatch the rights of others who are minorities that are actually discriminated against and get under it in different policies and everything. But when it time to get on cold for white supremacies, white feminism takes a Black seat and white women go vote Trump in. That's the difference. They are talking. Comes down when it comes time to take action, they take action based on being on code for the social group. They'll push individualism in multiple ways, but at the end of the day, they're going to execute what's in. And so my point here is that it's our responsibility to be proactive. We are horrible at proactivity. We are horrible at being ahead, taking the actions we need to take so that we don't find ourselves in a bind. We are horrible in in being able to say, okay, this is what we're going to do so they don't do this to us. We are always reacting after something happens, and it normally comes from a place of emotion because we haven't had time to think it out, because we refuse to be proactive, we refuse to set up think tanks, we refuse to actually support programs like Black Man Lead, anything that you know about in your community that are supporting men in being men. That's something that we're failing at. We've got to be active. We've got to make up in our mind that they're not going to have our boys, that they're not going to target our boys, and the only way that that's going to happen, two things. You got to have a program in place, a ritualized program that's universal, that is teaching young Black boys what it means to be a man, the socialization program. I've created one. If you don't like that, you got to find one and implement it. I've taken into consideration social implications, psychological implications, physical implications, economic implications in the building out of this program. And that's important. But that's only one part of it. The other part is you got to have people that are part of unapologetic Black media that are refuting the narrative, that are standing up against the narrative, that are taking the heat from those who are pushing the agenda. Because the moment I sit up and said that something was wrong with it, I immediately start to get pushback. And I'm pretty sure they're going to jump on this video, probably not in the beginning, but they're going to jump on this video and they're going to push back because they're going to call it some kind of form of hatred, some kind of form of restriction. No, there are roles. There have always historically been roles. Now, have men patriarchal in a patriarchal culture done some things to shift some things, and have we gotten authority at some point? But there's still natural, universal, cosmic, and spiritual roles. There's a masculine energy, there's a feminine energy. The best results come from when you merge masculine energy and feminine energy, and you sync that energy up. It's called synergy, and you create a force so powerful that the couple of or group can do more as a unit than they could as individuals. And they don't want that. They prefer, now there's power in feminine energy, and men have a certain level of feminine energy. Women have a certain level of masculine energy. But for the most part, in a usual situation, the male's energy is going to be predominantly masculine. The female energy is going to be predominantly feminine. And when you come together and you link up and you sync that, you create a force that's elevatory, meaning that the woman's spiritual power and feminine energy tends to lift and raise. That's why I tell women all the time, be careful how you talk to him, because you have the power in your words to raise him up or tear him down. And he's hearing it. And whether he wants to or not, it has an impact. Be careful. I teach that all the time. So the woman is elevating. The feminine energy is elevating. But the masculine energy is forceful. It builds momentum. It moves us forward. You need both. If you take away the masculine energy, you'll get a bunch of people that know who they are, that are elevated up here, but don't have the power to move forward. Don't have the protection. So you also got to have the protection. For a woman to be everything that she needs to be, she's got to be covered by a man that says nothing will happen to you on my watch. That's the message that I give to my wife and my daughters. Nothing will happen to you on my watch. Be free to be yourself. And, you know, I found out the other day, because my wife does something that can be dangerous. One of the things she does, she has a couple of things she does outside of the work she does in the community. She has Restoring Ghettos Forgotten Daughters, where she works with at-risk youth, but at-risk female youth. But she also is a real estate agent, and she also owns a tax preparation company. She's been in that tax consulting thing for like 10 years. But going out and showing a home, normally there's a process she goes through to make sure she's safe. What I did is, because I can't always be there in situations like open houses, I shut down what I'm doing. I'm at the open house with her the entire time. If I have to take something and do something, I'll take my computer set up and use my mobile Wi-Fi service, and I'll do my work sitting at some counter somewhere. but I'm a presence that when they walk in the door, they see it's a man here, and so what is whatever, and and I introduce myself and I make myself present, and they let them know I'm here. I want them to hear my voice, so I do that. But there are times like day before yesterday, she had to go show a house, and she did a video. She called me, and I knew the fact that she called. She never calls me before showing. She'll tell me I'm going over here, blah blah blah, and I'll have the address, and if I hadn't heard from her in a while, I check on her. But she called me and say, "Hey, look." She asked me because I've trained her how to use her gun to make sure she says, okay, I just need to make sure I've got everything right. And that let me know she's nervous because she knows her way around the gun. The fact that she was asking me about it to be sure lets me know she was a little nervous. So I calmed her down. I said, chamber your round, put it on safety. Put it in your purse and have your hand in your purse the whole time. Thumb the safety down. If anything goes on, thumb the safety down. Start shooting before you even get it out your purse good. Let the chips fall where they may. But if I'm there, she doesn't have to worry about that. If I'm there, she can be who she needs to be the best real estate agent, the best home shore that she can possibly be. Just something that simple. We have to be, as men, a protective mechanism and a force that tells our women that they're safe. You can't do that when you've been feminized and emasculated. A woman will be your friend, but she's not. You'll see women that are unbelievably close with men who are feminine. And I'm not telling you don't be close to men who are feminine. I know men who are feminine I'm cool with. But when it's time to get down, that's not who I'm looking at. That's not who I'm going to call and say. And I'm not saying some of them can't throw down. I'm saying that there has to also be an appearance that is settling to the spirit. And what I can tell you is no matter how politically correct you want to be, when you turn around and you look at a male in a dress, that is a subconscious reaction to that male in that dress that comes back to you, that places that person in a certain category. And that's not going to be a category that says, this is who I go to war with if you're a man, or this is who I can trust to defend me if you're a female. And that is a big, huge issue that most people don't even think about, but it's huge in society. There has to be a sense of safety in order for there to be a freedom for execution. If you don't feel safe in the environment, you can't execute. Not at the top of in the pinnacle of your potential, because now you're spending time on scanning and looking and worrying and trying to figure out if this person is going to do something, if that person is going to do something. You've got to understand that this agenda is not without cause, that they understand the power of bridling the black male. And it's our responsibility to make sure it doesn't happen. We've got to raise up a generation of black men who are executing the role of black men. And that starts with protecting them early in life. These kids, I don't think any of them were over the age of 7. That's like just totally blowing my mind. And it's a thing. It's a thing. Boys can be princesses too. It's literally a thing. And that's just one element, one component, one mechanism. There are so many constantly being aimed that tells them that there's no real need for them to be masculine, and that if they're acting masculine, that's actually toxic masculinity. And so no, and what I teach my boys is there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. And people go, oh my God, but what about a guy who beats his child or beats his woman or kills a woman? But that's not masculinity. That's dysfunction. That's psychological disruption. That's mental illness. That's poor management. That's not masculinity. Masculinity says I have a role and a purpose that I'm executing, and I will execute it to the point of death. I will protect the women. I will guard the children. I will push forward. I will resist anything that moves against what I believe in. That's masculinity. Being macho isn't masculine. Being violent isn't masculine. It is not the violence that sets a man apart. It's the distance he's willing to go to do what he's been given to do. Got a bunch of fools that are violent, but how far are you willing to go? In what direction are you willing to go determines whether that violence is coming from a place of masculinity or mental dysfunction or cultural dysfunction. When masculinity is present, there is no toxicity. Masculinity will not tolerate toxicity. But see, if we can get people to start using that term, anytime a man does something that somebody doesn't like, they'll tag him as being as toxic masculinity. And that's how they'll bridle them in. The same way that the LGBTQ community uses homophobia. See, you say it enough, it becomes a negative tag that nobody wants to wear. So nobody does what they should be doing or says what they should be saying for the fear of being tagged with a stigma that they don't want to hold. But it's going to take some men who are willing to stand up and say, I'm going to speak the truth. Call me what you want to call me. I'll let the life that I live speak for me, because I probably work with and help more gay people than most of the people out there throwing that term around. So I could care less what they think about me. And I've proven this over and over again. And the biggest attacks that I've ever had on any of my channels or any of my websites have been from the LGBTQ community. But I'm going to stand up and I'm going to speak the truth, because that's what has to happen. And I'm raising up the men, at least that I have underneath me, that I'm training. I'm raising up some men that are going to speak the truth. And I hope they carry the torch further than I ever could. I hope they do things that I've never been able to do. That's my goal. Leadership is about raising up people who exceed what you've done, not keeping people under your wing so that you feel important. I'm raising up warriors, and I'm getting them prepared to go out and win. I really wish, Rolando, in certain instances, there are Black women on this site that are co-signing this, and that's a problem. It's not a one-sided problem where we just, I'm not that person. What I'm saying is, definitely our women have got to stop co-signing BS. They've got to stop co-signing things that weaken men. We've got to stop thinking, well, what if? My thing is, people ask me, well, how would you feel if one of your sons came to you and said that they were gay, or one of your daughters came to you and said that they were gay? I mean, it's a question that is hard to make authentic the answer, because that hasn't happened to me, and it's easy for anybody to say something when it hasn't happened. And so I'm careful about my response when I'm asked that. But I look at my kids, and I don't think that that's an issue with any of my kids, but I don't know. But what I can tell you is I can love my kid and not agree with where they're at. And they would know because of how I handle them. Because none of my kids are perfect and do everything I want them to do. So they know what it is like to have dad disappointed, but still love you. And that's what I would be. I'm not happy with it, but I still love you, and I got you. I am going to stand by you. I got you, but I'm not going to co-sign you. I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to love you, and I'm going to let you do you. But I'm not going to co-sign you, because I stand on what I believe. And you go out, son or daughter, and stand on what you believe. Because at the end of the day, all you got is what you believe in. And if you can let people sway you one way or other or another for the sole purpose of being accepted and liked, you'll never find your place. You'll never be happy. You will never experience fulfillment, because you'll be living a life that someone else is dictating. That's it. I am not going to sit up and say it's okay. I don't believe it's okay. There's nothing that my research and my work has shown me that says it's okay. My research has shown me that it's detrimental. My research has shown me that there's a lot of evidence that there's an agenda, and that agenda is detrimental to the future of Black men. And so that's where I'm going to stand on it. And I'm not moving on it. I don't care who hates me. I don't care how they talk about me. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to make a stand. I'm here to speak the truth. I'm here to hold myself and others accountable. And so as I close this down, we've got work to do. I'm asking you to back me on the work I'm doing. I'm not only doing the work with Black Men Lead, but I'm going to launch as much of a and as powerful of a campaign as I can to counter this notion and this message. I want to bring my work forward and present it in a way that people can see it and understand what's happening. We are literally being convinced to allow the enemy, convinced by the enemy, to allow the enemy to dictate what we accept and what we don't accept without understanding the implications and the consequences. It's going to be the responsibility of those of us who know to not allow that to happen, to provide the right information, to be very forthcoming in the implications, to be very detailed in the presentation, to talk about it on a level that's not just stirring emotions, but challenging critical thought. It's going to require that. Right now, we don't have the resources. Right now, we have some unbelievable voices. Some people, most people don't know about because they don't have the backing. It's time to get out of that. It's time to stand up. It's time to do something. I am asking for your support. I'm asking for you to go to the first paragraph in the description box and either choose to click the link and go to the site, which is a beautiful thing because you get to see all the things that are happening on the site, all the work we're doing, all the things I've put in. There are links to some of my papers. There are links to some of my books. There are videos. A lot of them having to be replaced because a lot of them came from the old channel and we're having to redo things, but that's coming and happening. But you'll get to see all of that if you want to, or you can just take the quick route that a lot of people like to take, and that is you can cash app. That information is in there. But what we need to do, and that's the first step, we got to have resources, but we also got to become actively involved in resisting. In other words, when you see something, you can't stroll by. That's one of the things that I have made a purpose. When I scroll by something and it's something that's being shared and it's going to be detrimental to the Black collective, I address it and I put time into addressing it. Why? Because there has to be a reverse alternate narrative that explains the other side of the equation so that people don't think that that's okay. That comes with time, energy, effort, and work, but it has to be done. Somebody has to do it. It's that simple. You can't keep having them push this stuff down our throats. It's in our music, it's in TV shows, it's in cartoons. I got to scream what my darn grandsons are watching. That, I mean, it's so crazy. I'm gonna share an image on this thing once I get the video up. The thumbnail is gonna be an image of what I'm talking about. Little boys in dresses and tiaras and wands and all of the makings of a princess. And it's a movement. And you've got some Black women co-signing it. You can't say you want a strong Black man and co-signing the weakening of Black males. You have to understand that you're under assault whether you know it or not. We have work to do. We have so much work to do, and we're sitting around as if it's going to fix itself. That's the scariest thing about this, is that I watch people who literally act and believe that they can sit there and disagree with something in silence. And because they don't think it's right, that it'll automatically change. They're changing things constantly and moving against us. Look at how things have, look at those of you who are old enough, look back to the 70s and think about what was acceptable on TV, on radio, and think about what's on TV and radio now. I'm not speaking of anything particular. I'm talking about just think about what could be said on TV and radio, what you could see on TV and hear on radio in the 70s, even the 80s, and think about now. And tell me that if you don't stand up and speak and do something, that it won't, that things will remain the same and be okay. No, if you don't stand up and resist it, if you don't sit up and become a voice against it, if you don't stand up and say, not on my watch, you will look up and the world won't resemble the world that you came up in. And it won't be for the good. We have a very powerful mechanism in digital media, social media, websites, podcasts, and all these other things. But if we don't stand up and use them for something other than calling other people out, jumping on posts and threads, talking about all kind of stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with empowerment. You know, I see people taking shots at each other. We can get on and talk about football. We can get on and talk about basketball. We can talk about fashion. We can talk about our jobs. We can make memes about everything and don't realize that we have the power to start writing narratives that will be conducive to our empowerment. We don't see that. We don't act and do that. We don't see the power and force of social media. But here's the problem. They do. That's why you're constantly being bombarded with things that are not in your interest because they know the power of subliminal programming. They know the power of propaganda. They know that they can literally write the narrative through media. And if they do it consistently and often enough, that ultimately they're going to literally control how you see things, that they'll have people literally co-signing and suggesting doing things that are not in their best interest. They've been doing it. That's how countries control the masses, is through the media. Now you have something in front of you that you can use. You have people like myself that are willing to be the voices and the face of it and go out and share it. But you're going to have to get behind it. You can't sit up and think this thing happens on its own. It's going to need momentum. We got to stop sitting up thinking that we're going to sit by and just say, man, that's crazy. Oh my God. Wow. Shaking my head. And all of a sudden, that's going to change things. No, you got to write an alternate narrative. You got to put a narrative up that tells your side. You got to put a narrative up that gives and represents your values, interests, and principles. That's simple. If you don't have constant narratives that are representing your values, your interests, and principles, you're sending your kids to schools that do the opposite. You're letting them listen to music that does the opposite. You let them watching TV programs that does the opposite, and you're expecting to get the positive results. You are going to have to be the catalyst. You're going to have to get behind things that support your values, interests, and principles, period. This is not a game. I don't think we get it. They are literally systematically dissecting and destroying us. And a lot of times they get us to smile because we don't understand what happened. It's time to fight back. It's time to stand up. It's time to take action. I mean, get behind something. That's one of the reasons why I created. Matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you this. Then I'll be done. I'm gonna tell you exactly why I created Black Men Lead. There was this big talk and push about black on black crime. They were animalizing and criminalizing young black males specifically. And they were doing it in a number of different ways through the media. They were propagandizing the idea that blacks are naturally and inherently more violent than whites and other races. And they were using statistics and images and pictures and everything to sell that message. They came up with this black on black crime, a myth that I have since debunked. It doesn't mean that blacks don't kill blacks. It means that it's not a cultural or political or geographical phenomenon. What it is normal and natural. If you study any other group, if you look at whites, 84% of whites who were murdered by white people. Why is that? Murder is normally an emotional response that happens when you're around some. And the people you get emotional with are the people you live around. Most people while we say we're integrated, we live very segregated lives. Most people, white people live around white people, most black people live around black people, and on and on and on. And so what that means is that when there's a disagreement, it's likely to be between two people of the same race. So you get violence. Now, criminality is also a compulsion of poverty. You get a higher rate of criminality in an impoverished area. It's just that simple. I could break all that down, but I don't have time. So I started to debunk that. In that, I came up and I wanted to talk about African American adolescent and young adult male violence. So I stood up and I looked at it and I said, okay, what it is. I came across work that Dr. Howard Stevenson of the University of Pennsylvania, Dr. Joy DeGruy, who wrote Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. I came across their work and what they were doing, and I started to pull from that, and I started to build out, and I come to find out that one of the most powerful forces in determining and protecting our young men from the risk of committing violence was proper socialization. Young black boys who were properly socialized into their black male existence were less likely to commit crimes and do violent acts. Those who were not, the opposite was true. So that was the first part. The second part was that black males didn't know who they were, and it made them easy targets for emasculation, feminization, and homosexualization. And so it became that I built this program on, that I'm not going to let boys grow up and destroy themselves and destroy their community, and I'm not going to let them be easy targets for a system that wants to emasculize and break them and make them irrelevant in their own communities. And so that's what Black Men Lead was built on. And that's what I want to pass on to community leaders around the nation, is a curriculum that works on providing mentorship, modeling, and teaching to young black males. Because you got to understand, we have 1.5 million black males missing. There's a large void and gap in impoverished areas where they are most likely to commit violence and be targets of this new agenda. It's our responsibility to step in there and do something about it. We can come up with all the excuses we want to come up with, but at the end of the day, that is it. On that note, I'm gonna get off of here. Hopefully you'll get behind the work we're doing, but we gotta amp that up. We've got to stand up against that. And here's the thing, people. Each and every time that I've come to you and I've talked about this agenda, I have never gone out and looked for the evidence. It has always found its way to me. It's just that pervasive. I don't go looking for ways that they're attacked. I just sit back and it comes to me because it's so pervasive. It's in the music, it's in the programming of the radio and the TV, it's in movies, it's in writing, it's everywhere you look. There is this agenda. We can't let it build momentum. We've got to stand up to it. That's the end of it. I'm going to jump off of here and get back to what I need to do. Thank those of you who stepped in and gave your opinion one way or another. That note, I'm going to get off here. Thanks, Regina, for administrating while I talk. I really do need that. Thanks, Brenda, for stopping in. Hope everything's going good on the other side of the pond over there. We need to talk sometime this week. Anybody else I need to address? Okay, that's it for now. I'm going to get off of here. Once again, you guys have an unbelievable day, and I will catch up with you.